On this planet, there are places so extraordinary that they seem to defy logic itself, where the raw forces of nature and the passage of time have created wonders that feel almost unreal. Some rise above the clouds in silence, some burn, crack, or shimmer beneath the earth, and others appear like forgotten visions, hidden between water, stone, ice, and endless sky. Across the world, these breathtaking landscapes awaken something deep within us, a sense of wonder, mystery, and the irresistible urge to see what lies beyond the ordinary. They are not just beautiful places, but magnificent reminders of how strange, powerful, and astonishing our planet truly is. Today, we begin a journey through the 100 most fascinating places in the world and uncover the wonders that make Earth feel far greater than imagination itself. In central Turkey stretches an unusual stone landscape called Cappadocia, where thousands of tall cone-shaped rock pillars rise from ancient volcanic ash, forming a rough yet clearly structured scene unlike most natural regions. More than 3 million visitors arrive each year, not only to see the strange rock columns, but also to stay inside rooms carved directly into natural stone walls formed millions of years ago. In 1985, Cappadocia was officially recognized by UNESCO as a World Heritage Site, confirming its exceptional geological formations and long-standing cultural history shaped within volcanic rock. The soft, tough stone allowed ancient residents to dig nearly 200 feet underground, creating vast subterranean cities capable of sheltering thousands of people during periods of conflict. The name fairy chimneys comes from the tall, narrow shapes capped by harder stone, a simple geological process that produced natural formations resembling carefully sculpted towers. The region began forming about 60 million years ago through powerful volcanic eruptions, and thick ash layers later eroded into rock pillars rising between 30 and 130 feet, similar to a 10-story building. Danakil Depression in Ethiopia lies about 400 feet below sea level, so it becomes one of the most extreme lowland environments on Earth. This area has almost no developed tourism infrastructure, so the journey here feels like an expedition and requires careful physical and equipment preparation. Daytime temperatures often exceed 120 degrees Fahrenheit, so the environment places strong pressure on the human body. The region sits on a tectonic boundary where plates are pulling apart, so the Earth crust is thinning and geothermal activity increases continuously. The surface includes salt formations, mineral layers, and cracked ground, so the landscape forms a non-uniform terrain that changes quickly over time. With its extreme conditions and strong geological activity, this place becomes one of the most important natural areas for studying the limits of life on Earth. What makes Meteora monasteries in central Greece one of the most astonishing religious complexes in Europe? Monasteries built on rock pillars about 1,300 feet high transformed extreme terrain into a spiritual symbol lasting for centuries. In 1988, Meteora was recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site for its global value, combining rock formations formed around 60 million years ago with continuous monastic life since the 14th century. During the 16th century, more than 24 monasteries operated at the same time, proving it once functioned as an organized religious center rather than isolated hermit shelters. The sandstone pillars rose from ancient river sediments and were shaped by erosion over millions of years, creating rare vertical columns stable enough to support heavy stone buildings. Walking along narrow stone steps between towering cliffs hundreds of feet high, you understand why this landscape provided protection and separation from medieval social conflicts. For centuries, monks relied on rope nets and pulley systems to lift people and supplies, showing the strict discipline and chosen isolation of their spiritual life. How can a valley turn water into layered maps that connect endlessly across space? Zhujiagu Valley in southwest China reveals this unusual natural structure. More than 100 lakes connect into a linked chain, each one holding water through natural mineral layers that form a rare terraced structure. As you move through the area, you can clearly see the lake bottom several feet below, where submerged tree trunks create a second visible layer beneath the surface. Water spreads across wide limestone steps, forming curtain-like waterfalls that extend horizontally instead of falling vertically, which keeps the flow distributed across the surface. The site was recognized by UNESCO in 1992, confirming its global value as a stable freshwater ecosystem with a clearly defined structure. Standing among the connected water levels, the entire landscape feels like a living map where overlapping layers of water continue without a clear ending point. Angel Falls in Venezuela is known for a continuous free-falling water stream from extreme height, and this feature makes it the tallest waterfall on Earth. During observation from several miles away, the waterfall remains clearly visible, and this shows a scale far beyond most natural formations. The total height is about 3,000 feet, with most of it as a free fall, and this structure creates an uninterrupted vertical flow. As water drops from the great height, part of it turns into mist before reaching the ground, and this process changes the shape of the falling stream. A nearly vertical rock face keeps the water concentrated into a long column, and this feature makes the entire structure easy to recognize from far distances. With its extreme scale and largely untouched condition, the site stands as a global symbol of natural power, and this increases its value for research and conservation. Meeting of the waters, Amazon. Brazil is a rare natural phenomenon where two massive rivers flow side by side for many miles without mixing immediately. One side has very dark water that absorbs light, while the other side is light brown and full of sediment, creating a sharp line like it was drawn on the surface. These two water flows remain separated for more than 4 miles, moving next to each other like different layers of liquid that do not blend. The difference in speed and density allows both rivers to continue side by side, forming a complex water system studied around the world. Because of this, the living species in each water flow can be very different due to clearly different environmental conditions. From above, the boundary stretches for many miles and appears like a giant cut across the surface of the Earth, making this place a unique global symbol. At Socotra Island in Yemen, the landscape appears like an unfinished draft, where the shapes of plants and land follow their own rules. This island covers about 1,400 square miles and has been isolated for millions of years, creating a unique ecosystem with no similar patterns elsewhere. Across the wide dry ground, round tree canopies shaped like upside-down umbrellas grow in scattered groups, forming a layout that looks carefully arranged. Around 30% of the plant species here are endemic according to UNESCO, showing a long process of separate evolution over many geological stages. As you move through different terrains, you can clearly feel the transition between rocky plateaus, bright sandy areas, and clear blue coastlines with almost no urban presence. The experience here is not only about seeing the landscape, but about stepping into an isolated ecosystem where familiar natural rules seem completely rewritten. What is waiting for you at Kawah Ijen volcano in Indonesia, where the Earth opens into a space that feels bright and dangerous, like a living, natural experiment. Inside a crater about 0.6 miles wide, a turquoise acid lake looks calm, like liquid glass, but can quickly corrode metal. As you move closer, you can see sulfur gas burning into blue flames, bending like glowing streams flowing across the rocky ground. Workers here carry sulfur blocks weighing 150 to 200 pounds on their shoulders, walking across steep terrain in a striking contrast between beauty and survival. The surrounding space is covered with yellow minerals, thick smoke, and grey rock, creating the feeling of standing inside a massive natural factory in constant motion. Until today, Kawah Ijen is still considered one of the most dangerous places people can reach, where beauty and risk exist together in the same space. Iguazu Falls, spanning the border of Argentina and Brazil, is not a single waterfall, but a massive system of approximately 270 falls stretching nearly 1.7 miles. From a distance, the entire area appears as a long, continuous white band, with no clear boundaries to identify its overall structure. As you approach, the water breaks into multiple layers and directions, causing the landscape to lose any sense of a single, unified shape. At closer range, a dense mist, created by a flow of 62,000 cubic feet per second, obscures the base of the falls from view. The roar of the water does not come from one specific spot, but radiates from all directions, making it nearly impossible to pinpoint the source of the sound. No single vantage point allows for a complete view of Iguazu, as each location reveals only one fragment of this vast, watery labyrinth. The rich ecosystem and natural beauty inside Sun Dung Cave in Vietnam have attracted explorers from around the world. Discovered in 2009, it is now the largest natural cave in the world, with space large enough to fit tall buildings and still have empty space above. Inside the cave are massive sinkholes where the ceiling collapsed, allowing sunlight to enter and form a tropical forest growing deep underground. In this environment, trees, mist, light, and humidity combine to create a space that feels almost completely separated from the outside world. The cave is so large that it forms its own clouds and mist, as moist air rises and condenses, making visitors feel like they are standing in an open valley. The stalactites and stalagmites here are extremely large, with some structures as tall as multi-story buildings, showing a formation process that has taken millions of years. This is Niagara Falls, located on the border between the United States and Canada, where the water flows to the edge and opens into a massive plunge. Every second, Niagara Falls pours down about 600,000 gallons of water, enough to fill an Olympic swimming pool in just a few seconds. From a distance, the falls appear like a white silk ribbon stretching across dark cliffs, standing out against the vast and majestic natural space. This was a pioneer in large-scale hydroelectric power, opening a new era in how humans harness energy from nature. In 1848, this iconic waterfall almost stopped flowing for 40 hours due to ice blocking the upstream, creating an eerie silence. With its magnificent beauty and eternal power, Niagara Falls is sure to bring a fresh surge of life to any visitor who arrives. Santorini is a crescent-shaped formation created from a collapsed volcanic crater located in Greece. So how can a city exist when the central portion has disappeared and only steep cliffs remain? At Santorini, houses do not stand on flat ground, but attach to the terrain, stacking along the slope as if sliding down toward the sea. Many houses do not have their own roofs, instead using the terrace of the house above as the roof for the space below. As you move deeper inside, many spaces are not newly constructed, but carved directly into the rock, making the boundary between architecture and terrain nearly merge into one. From above, the layers of houses, rock, and sea stack together, forming a clearly tiered spatial structure within a single view. Within this structure, details such as small windows are designed to limit light and heat, helping maintain more stable conditions inside. In the middle of the vast Indian Ocean, Seychelles appears as an isolated island system where ancient rocks and clear water exist together in a rare natural setting. The entire country includes about 115 islands, spread across more than 530,000 square miles of ocean, making each land point feel like it floats in a huge water space. Smooth, rounded granite boulders are stacked in natural forms without familiar patterns, combined with bright sand to create strong visual contrast, like an edited image. It seems time itself shaped these curved rocks, as granite over 750 million years old has been slowly worn down by water and salt into stable and unusual structures. When stepping into the water, you can clearly feel the color shift from shallow to deep, like moving between two different natural spaces. Here, the isolated ecosystem allows many species to be less afraid of humans, creating a close and clear observation experience that is rarely found. If there is a place where you can float on water and enter the heart of a mountain at the same time, it is the Trang An Landscape Complex in Ninh Binh, Vietnam. This area was formed from limestone karst around 250 million years ago, creating a flooded land structure that is rare and almost impossible to recreate. Visitors do not walk but move by boat through caves that cut across mountains, where the low rock ceiling forces you to lower your body and feel the enclosed space. The entire landscape includes more than 30 enclosed water valleys surrounded by cliffs rising from 160 to 650 feet, creating the feeling of entering a giant natural chamber system. The calm water reflects the limestone peaks like a mirror, making every small movement create a deep visual effect that keeps changing continuously. Trang is recognized as a dual World Heritage Site and also preserves human traces from tens of thousands of years, turning this place into a living map of natural and human history. Have you ever seen a vast white sand landscape at Lencois Maranhense National Park in Brazil, where many blue lagoons appear clearly between the dunes like a structured system? This area covers more than 600 square miles, equal to combining several large cities, showing a rare scale of coastal dune formation. What keeps the lagoons stable between dunes for weeks at a time? It is the underlying layer acting as a natural barrier that prevents water from draining away. As visitors move across the dunes, they can see each lagoon resting in low areas, forming patterns that look precisely arranged across the sand surface. The area was recognized as a national park in the 20th century, helping protect the entire natural structure from human impact. During the dry season, the lagoons gradually vanish and reveal only sand. Then the cycle repeats and keeps the landscape changing over time. Can you believe that in a desert with almost no surface water, a small lagoon still survives because it is fed by a stable underground source? The surrounding dunes can reach about 1,000 feet high, creating steep slopes that allow fast sand sliding activities across a constantly shifting terrain. The central lagoon is relatively small but supports plant life, forming a clear green zone that stands out within the wide sandy environment. This landscape is shaped by continuous wind-driven sand movement, so the dunes keep changing form over time and never remain fixed. Special vehicles moving across the sand show how humans adapt to harsh terrain and turn difficult natural conditions into tourism activities. The oasis demonstrates that an entire ecosystem can depend fully on a limited underground water supply in an extremely dry environment. Is there a place in the Namib Desert where rows of trees seem frozen in time? Deadvlei appears like a landscape where the past has been locked in place for centuries. As you walk across the area, the white clay ground breaks into clear patterns underfoot, giving the sense of a surface that once held water but is now completely dry. The trees have remained standing for about 600 to 900 years without decaying, showing that the environment is dry enough to prevent normal biological breakdown. It is difficult to imagine that a stable water system was fully blocked by sand, causing the entire ecosystem to stop and never return to its original state. This area is protected within a national conservation system, preserving its natural structure and supporting research on long-term desert environments. Against the white ground and dark tree forms, the scene feels like a preserved moment of natural history that still remains visible in the present day. Have you ever seen a massive multicolored circle in the wild landscape at Grand Prismatic Spring in the United States and still think it looks unreal? This hot spring has a diameter of about 370 feet, roughly the length of a football field, showing a rare geothermal scale on Earth. What makes orange, yellow, and red bands spread in such clear rings, like a precise map, it is how microorganisms adapt to different environmental zones. With a depth of about 120 feet, the spring stores a large volume of water while forming a deep blue center that reflects high purity. As visitors move along a fixed walkway, they can observe concentric color rings arranged in order, revealing how the ecosystem organizes itself naturally. Only here does a hot water structure display living layers so clearly, like a complete map, making the entire landscape appear as an active system in motion. What makes Pamukkale in Denizli province, Turkey, become one of the most astonishing geological landscapes on Earth? It is an entire white travertine hillside formed by calcium carbonate deposits over tens of thousands of years, where mineral water keeps building rare natural terraces in a dry land. In 1988, Pamukkale was recognized by UNESCO as a World Heritage Site for its combined natural and cultural value, confirming it as a place where geology and long human history are closely connected. The whole system of terraces stretches about 9,000 feet, showing a mineral accumulation large enough to reshape an entire hillside through continuous deposition over many millennia. If the mineral water stopped flowing for only a few years, the bright white surface would slowly turn grey from oxidation, proving that this striking landscape depends completely on the steady movement of spring water. Since the 2nd century before Christ, people have used the spring water here for health purposes, creating a lasting link between natural geology and everyday social life. The smooth, curved terraces stack layer upon layer, forming a structure that feels both raw and clearly organized, built entirely by natural mineral processes rather than human hands. This is the Maldives, where over 1,000 coral islands curl into azure circles, floating like emeralds amidst tens of thousands of miles of ocean. The seawater achieves absolute clarity, causing light and the sandy bottom to blend, opening another layer of reality beneath the still water. When you step outside, you touch a vast expanse where the surface is so calm that even the smallest sounds become resonant. Since the 12th century, life here has been intertwined with prayers, rising 5 times a day, keeping the spiritual rhythm of life steady. Ancient mosques were built from fossilized coral, featuring intricate carved patterns despite the soft and fragile nature of the material. The combination of rare geological structures and unique biological phenomena has turned the Maldives into one of the most surreal places on Earth. Why does Lijiang River in China make viewers confuse reality with reflection, when isolated limestone peaks create layered spaces that overlap clearly from different viewing angles? The river stretches about 83 miles, winding through hundreds of separate limestone hills and forming a rare natural landscape corridor. As you move across the water, you can see the shapes of the mountains constantly change because your angle and distance shift along each curve. This landscape formed over about 300 million years as limestone slowly dissolved and created isolated towers with steep vertical walls. The ecosystem along the river includes many bird and aquatic species, creating a rich environment within this rugged limestone terrain. Traveling along the river lets you pass through the entire structure of this landscape, where every view keeps changing, like a sequence of natural scenes that never repeat. Amid the northern mountains of Vietnam, Mu Chang Chai appears like a living topographic map, where each layer of terraces is carved directly into the mountain slopes. The entire system covers more than 5,000 acres, with terraces flowing one after another like giant lines carved into steep terrain. elevation of about 3,300 feet, the landscape constantly changes as light moves, revealing each layer like living terrain steps. You may wonder what allows such a steep mountain area to maintain stable farming for generations, and the answer lies in terraces shaped along contour lines that hold water, reduce erosion, and create natural flow without modern technology. When water fills the surface, the terraces reflect the sky and create the feeling of walking across a vast system of mirrors along the mountainside. Today, Muchang Chai remains a global symbol of terraced fields, representing the combination of farming techniques and extreme terrain. Trolltunga in western Norway has become a global symbol of adventure tourism thanks to a rock ledge about 33 feet long extending straight from the mountainside into open space. The ledge stands nearly 3,600 feet above sea level, formed when thick glaciers carved and separated the rock mass around 10,000 years ago. The hiking route stretches almost 17 miles round trip and usually takes 10 to 12 hours, demanding strong endurance before reaching the exposed stone platform. In some years, visitor numbers exceeded 80,000 people, similar to a large stadium crowd, requiring rescue teams to increase support for unprepared hikers. Standing on the rock projecting into vast open space, you clearly feel the great height and deep silence of the bare plateau surrounding you. The barren rocky plateau around the ledge creates a raw landscape where human presence feels small, and nature shapes both local identity and economy. If there is a place that makes your eyes question reality, then Whitehaven Beach in Australia is that place, where white color and light almost break every familiar rule. A long stretch of white sand extends for about 4.3 miles, forming a vast open space where every step sinks into a soft, powder-like surface. The sand here contains about 98% silica, giving it an almost glowing white color and a smooth texture rarely found on beaches around the world. When standing directly on the beach, you can clearly feel the contrast between the white sand and the shifting blue water, creating a scene that looks like a living painting. The tides constantly reshape swirling patterns between sand and water, making the entire landscape change again and again like a moving natural image. Whitehaven Beach is not just a travel destination, but also a rare geological wonder, where light, material, and space blend into an unforgettable experience. Located in Chile, Torres del Paine are not ordinary mountains, but the only remaining granite cores of an ancient world. This strange structure challenges all conventional geographical definitions through the convergence of too many unimaginable natural elements at a single coordinate. Rising brilliantly amidst turquoise lakes and golden grasslands, the stone towers reach 8,000 feet, creating a mesmerizing tapestry of contrast. The disappearance of intermediate layers splits the landscape into two distinct parts, turning this place into a solitary and mysterious entity. Vast grasslands nestle at the foot of massive cliffs, creating a breathtaking scale disparity that overturns all perceptions of space. Torres del Paine has created multiple worlds, layered upon one another within the same physical space. What makes Landwasser Viaduct in Switzerland one of the most striking railway structures in the world? It is the 6 curved stone arches gripping a steep cliff above a deep forested valley, forming a bold line within wild mountain terrain. Completed in 1902, the bridge was once doubted by mountain residents who believed such a daring stone structure could not survive harsh alpine conditions. Yet more than 120 years later, it still operates reliably every single day. Rising about 210 feet high and stretching nearly 450 feet long, similar to a 20-story building laid horizontally, the bridge allows trains to cross a deep valley without any central support columns beneath it. Recognized by UNESCO in 2008, this structure moved beyond simple transport infrastructure and became a national symbol of engineering precision and cultural heritage in Switzerland. Built entirely from local limestone, using compression principles, the bridge remains strong enough to carry modern trains even without a primary steel frame supporting its arches. Surrounded by dense mountain forest and sheer rock walls, the rhythm of 6 connected arches shows how human design adapts to dramatic natural terrain without destroying the original landscape. Why does Antelope Canyon in Arizona, United States, amaze millions of people even though it is only a narrow crack in the desert? Continuous flash floods over millions of years carved soft sandstone into a rare winding stone maze that changed how people see desert landscapes in North America. Some passages are only 2 feet wide, yet rise nearly 100 feet high, about the length of a basketball court, standing upright inside solid rock. The sandstone here is about 190 million years old and was smoothed by water carrying sand like natural sandpaper, shaping flowing surfaces, unlike the surrounding desert terrain. After a serious flood in 1997, visitor rules were tightened and guided tours became mandatory, proving that powerful water can reshape the canyon within just a few hours. Walking between twisting walls brushing your shoulders, you clearly feel the enclosed space and shifting light tones that turn each movement into a strong visual experience. Local people describe this place as where water runs through rock, a simple phrase that clearly explains the natural force shaping the canyon for millions of years. How would you feel walking along a sheer cliff face protected only by a thin iron chain? That is the experience when you visit Mount Hua in China, a granite mountain rising sharply with 5 separated peaks in wild terrain. The mountain stands about 7,200 feet high, equal to stacking nearly 700 building floors, so climbing thousands of stone steps demands real stamina and focused attention from every visitor. More than 2,000 years ago, it was recognized as one of the 5 sacred mountains of China, and many Taoist practitioners chose to live on its steep slopes away from ordinary life. Stone stairways carved directly into hard granite still remain after centuries, showing how ancient builders adapted to extreme slopes instead of reshaping the mountain itself. Narrow paths attached to the rock are only several inches wide, so each step must be carefully planned because a deep drop exists immediately beside the route. Surrounded by trees gripping cracks in stone and sharp peaks rising upward, Mount Hua clearly represents the limits people are willing to face in order to reach great heights. Preikestolen in Norway is a granite cliff about 2,000 feet high with a nearly square flat top set between mountains and water, a natural form that makes visitors pause and think about the geological forces that shaped it. Each year, around 300,000 people hike nearly 5 miles across uneven rocky terrain to reach the top, showing the strong attraction of a place with almost no major man-made structures. This rock formation developed about 10,000 years ago when glaciers retreated and massive pressure carved the flat summit, while leaving a sharply defined vertical wall that still stands today. Its name means the pulpit, because the flat surface looks like a giant natural stage, and local residents say standing near the edge is when they truly sense their personal limits. The plateau measures roughly 80 by 80 feet, close to half the size of a basketball court, and there are no safety rails, so every step depends on individual awareness. What makes Preikestolen unusual is not only its height of about 2,000 feet, but also the clear contrast between the smooth top and the sheer rock face, prompting visitors to ask why such a simple shape leaves such a powerful impression. In the state of Utah in the United States lies Arches National Park, a desert of stone where more than 2,000 natural sandstone arches stand alone across open land, creating one of the highest concentrations of arches on Earth. As you walk across red sand and rough rock fragments surrounded by arches rising dozens of feet with no large trees nearby, you clearly feel the dry and wide character of a raw desert landscape. Before it became a national park in 1971, the area was used by native communities who left ancient markings on stone, showing that people observed these arches many generations ago. The park covers about 120 square miles, where rock layers formed more than 300 million years ago slowly cracked and eroded into arches over 50 feet tall, similar to a 5-story building. Scientists confirm that movement of underground salt layers lifted and fractured the surface rock, allowing water to enter cracks and gradually carve complete curved openings in solid stone. What makes Arches National Park fascinating is not only its more than 2,000 arches, but the fact that each one is temporary, raising the question of how many will remain as erosion continues over thousands of years. Can you imagine a massive wall of water stretching across Victoria Falls between Zambia and Zimbabwe, where the entire flow drops in a nearly continuous line? The waterfall is about 1 mile wide, equal to several stadium lengths combined, showing a rare scale for a natural waterfall system. The entire water flow does not move down a slope, but drops straight into a deep crack, then becomes compressed in a narrow space and continues moving below. Standing at the viewing area, visitors can see the upper surface remain relatively calm before suddenly turning into a powerful flow at the edge. The falls were recognized as a World Heritage Site in the 20th century, helping preserve the entire geological structure and water flow from human impact. At certain times, the water level drops and reveals hidden rock surfaces behind the flow, making the same location change its shape clearly over time. Come to Marble Caves in the Patagonia region of Chile, where water and stone combine to create a space that makes the eye question what is really happening. The entire cave is formed from solid marble over about 6,000 years, as water slowly erodes the surface into smooth, curved arches like a finished structure. As you enter by boat, you move beneath curved ceilings, where light reflected from the water turns the whole space into a glowing blue environment. The swirling stone patterns stretch across the walls and ceiling, making it feel like standing inside a painting that changes with every small movement. The clear water lets you see the rock below the surface, making the boundary between depth and surface hard to recognize. Marble Caves is not just a cave, but a living system where light, water, and stone reshape the space with every moment of experience. Leshan Giant Buddha in Sichuan Province, China, is a stone Buddha statue about 230 feet tall, carved directly into a cliff since the 8th century and still standing after more than 1,200 years. The project began in 713 and was completed almost 90 years later, a period equal to 3 generations of workers, showing the strong organization and lasting religious belief of the Tang society. Why can a relatively soft sandstone cliff remain stable for over 1,000 years? According to experts, a hidden drainage system inside the hair and robes guides rainwater away, reducing erosion and keeping the massive structure secure. The shoulders measure about 90 feet wide, and the feet can hold dozens of people at once, figures that reveal not only great size, but also careful proportion, planning to spread the weight of thousands of tons across natural rock. The statue leans against the natural cliff with open space in front, creating a powerful yet calm composition within the ancient sandstone landscape. In 1996, the site was recognized by UNESCO as a World Heritage Site, confirming its artistic, technical, and cultural value beyond a single religious monument. The Great Barrier Reef in Australia is not a single reef, but a system of more than 2,900 coral reefs and about 900 islands stretching across thousands of miles. What appears to be solid rock is actually a collection of billions of living organisms continuously growing over time. The vibrant colors of the reef do not come from the coral itself, but from the algae living within it. When stressed, the coral loses this layer of algae and turns white, creating the bleaching phenomenon. When diving down, the space gradually shifts from open sea into a dense system where coral structures surround and limit visibility. Each area has its own structure, as coral develops under different water and environmental conditions in each location. Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania rises about 19,300 feet, equal to nearly 4 miles, making it the highest peak in Africa and the tallest freestanding mountain on Earth. This stratovolcano stands alone across a wide plain, forming a striking landform where forest, bare rock, and ice exist along the same mountain slope. Why do nearly half of climbers each year fail to reach the summit? Professional researchers explain that at almost 19,300 feet, the thin air sharply reduces oxygen, preventing many bodies from adapting in time and forcing a safe return. The summit still holds ancient glaciers that have lasted for thousands of years, yet more than 80% of the ice has disappeared since the early 20th century, according to international studies. Mountain tourism provides jobs for thousands of local residents who work as guides and porters, turning an ancient volcanic mass into a direct source of community income. The massive mountain rises separately from surrounding land, and its ecological zones shift from forest to exposed rock, creating a natural structure both powerful and isolated on a continental scale. In the province of Alberta in Canada, Banff National Park covers about 2,500 square miles, nearly 3 times the size of a large city, forming a vast natural region where humans occupy only a small part. Mountain peaks rising above 10,000 feet were lifted around 80 million years ago, and the wide U-shaped valleys remain as clear marks of massive glaciers that once carved through solid rock. About 1,000 miles of trails cross forests and valleys, allowing visitors to walk long distances, where seeing elk near the path becomes a real experience in open wilderness. In 1885, Banff became Canada's first national park after natural hot springs were discovered, shifting the area from commercial use toward long-term conservation. Glacial lakes show a bright turquoise color because fine rock particles from moving ice reflect light, turning the water surface into a mineral mirror among layered mountain walls. Recognized as a World Heritage Site in 1984, Banff proves that a mountain region covering thousands of square miles can still support large wildlife, such as grizzly bears and wolves under strict protection. Neuschwanstein Castle in Bavaria, Germany began construction in 1869 under King Ludwig II and soon became one of the most famous castles in Europe for its romantic medieval revival design. Walking through the stone entrance and into the interior halls, you sense the steady flow of more than 1,300,000 visitors each year, a number equal to a large city population set within a quiet mountain forest setting. Its pointed towers, white stone walls, and themes from German legends turned the castle into a global fairy tale symbol that later shaped modern popular culture and architectural imagination. The structure stands on rock about 650 feet above the valley floor, a position that makes the castle highly visible and clearly separated from everyday surroundings. Inside, the multi-level throne hall, decorated with murals of German epics, shows King Ludwig II's deep interest in art, proving the building was both a residence and a personal artistic statement. Neuschwanstein Castle is widely recognized as one of the most iconic castles in Germany and is frequently listed among the most celebrated architectural landmarks in Europe. In the state of Michoacán in Mexico, San Juan Parangaricutiro became famous when a volcano suddenly appeared in 1943 and within 1 year rose to nearly 1,300 feet. A hardened lava field covering dozens of square miles replaced former farmland, creating a rough and open landscape where thick layers of rock now dominate the ground. The residents moved their entire community before the lava reached their homes, carrying memories with them and rebuilding their lives elsewhere after the disaster. Lava flows buried the old town within a few years, leaving a church tower about 100 feet tall, still standing among dark basalt rock. The complete growth and activity of the volcano were recorded from its birth until it stopped erupting in 1952, an extremely rare event in modern geological history. Standing among the remaining ruins and vast stone field, you may wonder how many other places on Earth have been transformed so quickly by a sudden geological event. Barringer Meteor Crater in Arizona, United States, is an impact site about 4,000 feet wide and nearly 550 feet deep, preserved for around 50,000 years within a dry desert landscape. The meteorite that created it measured roughly 160 feet across, and when it struck at more than 25,000 miles per hour, it released energy equal to millions of tons of explosive force, carving deep into solid rock. The crater rim rises about 150 feet above the surrounding plain, while the interior remains wide and open, forming a massive depression clearly visible across the desert's surface. At first, many 19th century scientists believed this structure was a volcano, until early 20th century evidence confirmed its true meteor impact origin and changed scientific understanding. The site was later used to train United States astronauts before the Apollo missions, turning a desert impact crater into a natural laboratory for space exploration studies. Its diameter equals nearly 20 football fields placed side by side, and its depth compares to a building over 50 stories tall, numbers that reveal how a brief cosmic collision reshaped the ground in seconds. In the desert of Turkmenistan stands Darvaza gas crater, a gas pit formed in 1971 after a drilling rig collapsed and exposed a large methane pocket that was set on fire to control leakage. The crater is about 230 feet wide and nearly 70 feet deep, similar in length to two passenger jets placed end to end, with hundreds of flames burning continuously for more than 50 years. At first, geologists expected the gas to burn for only a few weeks to prevent spreading. Yet the fire has continued until today and became one of the longest-lasting industrial accidents ever recorded. Around the crater, there is only cracked sand and dry ground, without permanent buildings or large vegetation, creating an empty landscape where the fire becomes the most visible element in the desert. The constant flames show that Turkmenistan holds large natural gas reserves underground, while also revealing how difficult it can be to fully control energy extraction once something goes wrong. Energy experts explain that the fire was meant as a short-term safety solution in 1971, but it has burned for decades and turned the site into a global attraction. Located in Siberia, Russia, Lake Baikal stretches across the continent as a vast inland water body where more than 25 million years of geological history remain visible in its deep sediment layers. The lake reaches about 5,200 feet in depth, equal to stacking more than 400 building floors underwater, and it holds nearly 20% of the world fresh water that is not frozen. The water is so clear that objects can be seen almost 100 feet below the surface, while surrounding mountain ranges keep the landscape isolated and largely untouched by modern development. More than 2,000 species live here, most found nowhere else on Earth, raising the question of how such an isolated ecosystem survived and evolved for millions of years. Local communities have depended on the lake for centuries, maintaining traditional fishing practices and treating this enormous water body as both a livelihood source and cultural symbol. In 1996, Lake Baikal was listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, officially recognizing it as one of the most important freshwater and geological reserves on the planet. What makes Petra in Jordan a city carved into rock that has existed for more than 2,000 years, when every structure is created directly from cliff faces without building materials, showing highly precise, ancient engineering? You walk through a narrow canyon about 4,000 feet long, where light is compressed into thin lines, leading straight into an open space ahead. In front of you appear massive facades carved deep into stone, with balanced proportions that make the entire cliff look like a complete structure. Petra once covered nearly 100 square miles, serving as an important trade center connecting routes across different ancient regions. A complex system of water channels and storage supported life, turning a dry environment into a stable and active urban space. This complete fusion between nature and human work has made Petra one of the most astonishing places on Earth. Vatnajökull Glacier in Iceland covers about 3,000 square miles, so it takes up nearly 10% of the country and forms an extremely large ice mass. The ice layer reaches hundreds of feet in thickness, with some areas near 1,000 feet, so it preserves climate records over many thousands of years. Active volcanic systems exist beneath the ice, so heat from below constantly affects the surface and creates a rare geological environment. Ice flows slowly over time and forms deep cracks, so the entire surface keeps changing and builds complex terrain structures. Meltwater beneath the ice can build up and release suddenly, so this area can produce large flood events within a very short time. With its massive scale and the interaction between ice and heat, this place becomes one of the most important natural systems for studying global climate change. Abraham Lake in Canada is known for frozen methane bubbles stacked in layered formations inside the ice, and this structure creates one of the most unusual natural landscapes on Earth. During the cold season, the surface freezes to nearly 3 feet thick, and this thickness allows people to stand directly above trapped gas structures below. Methane gas forms from organic material decomposing at the lake bottom, and this biological process continues even when the entire surface is fully frozen. As water freezes downward, layer by layer, gas bubbles become trapped in vertical stacks, and this creates clear columns visible inside the ice. The ice has high clarity that allows views several feet deep, and this visibility turns the entire lake surface into a natural cross-section of the ecosystem. Originally built for hydroelectric purposes, Abraham Lake later became a natural methane research site, and this shows how unexpected scientific value can emerge from engineered landscapes. How can a landform draw perfect circular rings across the desert surface? The Sahara Eye in Mauritania reveals a formation that appears clearly only from above. When standing within the area, you see only continuous rock and sand, yet from high altitude, the entire structure becomes a complete circular pattern. This formation has a diameter of about 25 miles, making it large enough to be one of the most recognizable shapes from space. Different rock layers eroded over long periods create multiple concentric rings, allowing the geological history to be directly visible on the surface. The site has been widely studied in modern geology, confirming that it is not an impact crater, but an eroded dome structure. As you move across each ring, the experience feels like walking inside a massive structure whose full shape only exists when seen from outside the Earth. Godafoss waterfall in Iceland creates a strong curved flow that spreads like a wide arc, so the entire waterfall forms a clear and highly recognizable shape. The surrounding terrain is open with few obstacles, so visitors can observe the entire waterfall from many positions without obstruction. The waterfall forms on strong basalt rock, so the edge remains stable and keeps its shape over long periods of time. As water moves across the curved edge, it splits into multiple smaller streams, so the surface shows layered and parallel flow patterns. The waterfall is linked to a major religious change in Iceland history, so it carries a clear cultural and symbolic meaning. With its curved form and easy recognition, this place becomes one of the most representative waterfalls of the country's natural landscape. What kind of geological structure allows an island in the Indian Ocean to create the illusion of water flowing downward? Mauritius presents a formation that appears unusual from above. The so-called underwater waterfall is actually sand and sediment moving along a slope on the ocean floor, creating the visual effect of a vertical flow. This island receives more than 1 million visitors each year, showing strong attraction from the combination of ancient volcanic land and surrounding ocean. Coral reefs form a natural barrier around the island, keeping nearshore waters stable and allowing the seabed to be observed directly without equipment. Mauritius gained independence in 1968, marking an important transition toward economic growth and modern tourism development. From above, moving sand beneath the ocean creates the appearance of a waterfall flowing downward, making the entire seascape seem to shift slowly across the surface. The pyramids of Giza in Egypt are known for near-perfect geometric precision, and this accuracy makes them one of the most exact ancient structures ever built. Visitors can stand next to massive stone blocks weighing several tons, and this direct experience reveals a construction scale far beyond normal human expectations. The pyramids are built on a stable rock base and aligned closely with the four cardinal directions, and this positioning helps maintain their structure over thousands of years. Each stone block weighs about 2 to 3 tons, and the total exceeds more than 2 million pieces, and this scale forms an extremely large architectural mass. The pyramid shape, with wide, flat faces and straight edges, creates a clear visual structure, and this design makes the monument stand out across the open landscape. Standing for over 4,000 years, the site represents a global symbol of ancient engineering, and this confirms the high level of organization and construction ability in early human history. Halong Bay in Vietnam is a marine karst region covering about 580 square miles, and this vast scale makes it one of the largest geological landscapes on Earth. Visitors mainly travel by boats along fixed routes, and this approach allows direct observation of limestone formations while reducing environmental impact. The terrain formed over 20 million years ago, and the process of limestone dissolution, combined with sea level change, created thousands of separate rock towers. Since the 20th century, the area has been widely studied, and this research provides important data about the development of marine karst landscapes. The limestone towers rise several hundred feet, with steep surfaces and many grooves, and these features reflect long-term and continuous weathering processes. With more than 1,600 rock formations and complex structure, this site clearly demonstrates long-term interaction between stone and seawater. Is there a place in Thailand where hundreds of limestone towers rise straight from the water like massive columns? That place is Phang Nga Bay, with almost no transition between sea and rock. Moving across the water, the rock formations open and close at different distances, making the space feel constantly changing depending on your direction of view. Many of these formations reach several hundred feet in height, similar to a large building, standing directly from the sea without any visible land base. How can these structures remain separate when their bases are slowly eroded by water while the upper sections stay stable over long periods of time? The area is included in a national conservation system to preserve its geological value and limit the impact of human activity on the landscape. Across the wide water surface and vertical rock forms, the entire scene feels like a natural network where pathways appear and disappear with each change in perspective. Can you believe a lake nearly 2,000 feet deep, formed from a collapsed volcano about 7,700 years ago in Oregon, United States, and still remains almost unchanged today? The lake reaches about 1,900 feet deep, making it the deepest in the country and allowing its deep blue color to remain stable year-round. Its water comes only from rain and snow, with no rivers flowing in, so clarity exceeds about 100 feet and impurities remain extremely low. Steep cliffs rising several hundred feet surround the lake and form a massive basin, which isolates the entire landscape into a closed natural system. A road about 33 miles long circles the rim, giving a complete view of the formation and helping visitors understand the full scale of a volcanic caldera. combination of great depth, pure water, and a sealed structure makes this one of the most stable, deep blue lakes ever recorded on Earth. Welcome to Hawaii, in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, where land does not just exist, but is constantly being created from deep beneath the ocean floor. Here, molten lava flows from volcanoes directly into the sea, creating thick white steam and forming new land over time. Hawaii is about 2,400 miles from the mainland, and this isolation allows more than 90% of its species to exist only in this place. You can walk on surfaces that were once flowing lava, touch sharp black rock, and clearly feel a land that was recently formed. Another special feature is the clear climate change within the same area, where you can move from tropical rainforest to dry land, like a desert, and then reach cold, high elevations. Hawaii is also famous for its powerful ocean waves, attracting professional surfers from around the world. There is a place where the very first step can make you question the boundary between the surface of Earth and the underground world, and that place is Phong Nha Ke Bang in central Vietnam. The limestone system here formed about 400 million years ago, creating one of the oldest karst regions in Asia with clearly preserved geological structures. As you go deeper inside, the space suddenly opens into massive chambers where the cave ceiling rises like a natural building and every sound echoes like a theater. The entire area covers nearly 480 square miles, holding a complex network of caves and underground rivers that allow people to move through the mountain like a maze. Light shining on the stalactites makes the rock surface reflect like crystal, creating a view that feels less like the real world and more like another planet. The combination of huge scale, ancient geological history, and the direct experience inside the Earth has made this place one of the most overwhelming natural landscapes on the planet. Among the high mountain peaks of Peru, Machu Picchu appears as an ancient city quietly attached to a steep mountainside, creating a feeling both close and completely separate. Machu Picchu stands at an elevation of about 8,000 feet, with the entire structure firmly fixed to a steep slope, surrounded by deep, empty spaces that create a strong sense of danger. What makes this place remarkable is how the stone blocks are fitted so tightly that there are almost no gaps, remaining stable after many centuries of geological changes. Could it be that the combination of an isolated mountain position, mortar-free construction techniques, and terrain-adapted planning has allowed Machu Picchu to remain stable for hundreds of years despite continuous natural forces? The entire area covers about 80,000 acres and is divided into clear sections with terraced fields designed to stabilize the ground and support long-term living. As you move through the stone steps and ancient corridors, visitors can clearly feel the connection between early human life and the complex mountain landscape. Imagine stepping into Waitomo glowworm caves in New Zealand, where the cave ceiling becomes a living sky filled with thousands of glowing points hanging in deep darkness. Inside, you sit on a boat, drifting through a quiet underground river, where blue light reflections create the feeling of moving between two parallel spaces. The cave was formed about 30 million years ago from ancient limestone, creating large chambers and connected passages deep beneath the ground. These glowing creatures hang from the ceiling and release sticky threads up to 12 inches long to trap insects drawn toward the light. As your eyes adjust to the darkness, each point of light becomes clearer, making the space above look like a slowly moving galaxy. This experience is not just about seeing a place, but about feeling a living system where light becomes a survival tool in a closed environment. Baobab trees in Madagascar is one of the rare landscapes in the world where plants shape the entire visual space instead of just acting as a background. Here, giant baobab trees rise straight into the sky with thick, smooth trunks and almost no branches on the lower part, creating the feeling of natural pillars standing on open land. The most famous feature of this place is the unusual form of the species Adansonia grandidieri, with a swollen trunk like a water tank and a small crown on top, making the whole tree look upside down. This shape makes the landscape feel illogical in a way that is hard for the eye to understand, because the heavy part appears on top while the lower trunk stays straight and smooth like a concrete column. When you touch the smooth bark and stand in the open space, you clearly feel the contrast between the small human body and these massive living structures. Let us explore what you can experience when stepping into the Amazon rainforest in South America, where space is replaced by a massive living system operating continuously around you. The forest covers about 2,100,000 square miles, larger than many countries, forming a continuous biological mass with extremely dense life. As you move inside, the tall canopy blocks most of the light, compressing your view and forcing you to rely on sound and surrounding movement. Some animals here have nearly perfect camouflage, allowing them to almost disappear within the layered green environment. The Amazon stores billions of tons of carbon in plants and soil, acting as an important storage system for the global climate. The Amazon rainforest is not a single destination, but a vast living space where each area has its own unique features and remains difficult to predict. At Los Glaciares National Park in Argentina, massive glaciers move slowly across the land in silence, turning the entire landscape into a system that keeps changing and reshaping itself. The park covers about 2,800 square miles and includes part of the third largest ice field on Earth, forming a connected network of ice and lakes like a living map. As you approach the edge of the glacier, you can hear deep cracking sounds like thunder when large ice blocks break off and fall into the water, creating wide waves. Towering ice walls reach about 240 feet high, standing like multi-story buildings and reflecting light into deep blue tones that make the space feel unusual. Visitors can walk directly on the ice surface and feel slight vibrations as the glacier underneath continues to move like a frozen river. Recognized by UNESCO as a World Heritage Site, Los Glaciares is not just a landscape, but a natural system where time and geology are clearly active and visible. When you arrive at Cliffs of Moher in Ireland, it feels like standing before a massive cut where the continent ends and the ocean begins right below your feet. The cliff line stretches for about 9 miles, like a giant natural wall, where the land suddenly stops and opens into an endless empty space ahead. At its highest point of nearly 700 feet, the view from the edge feels similar to standing on a building over 70 stories high, looking straight down at the moving ocean. The rock layers lie across each other like huge lines, revealing a geological history that has formed over hundreds of millions of years right in front of you. This place is also a well-known filming location, appearing in many major movies because of its dramatic and easily recognizable landscape. The space here is almost minimal, with only rock, water, and the horizon. But this simplicity makes the experience feel direct, clear, and unforgettable. In India, there is a masterpiece that never stands still. The Taj Mahal is a white marble mausoleum that possesses the ability to reflect and transform its hues with every movement of the sun. As dawn breaks, the stone glows in soft pink, then shifts to a brilliant white under the midday sun, before donning a mysterious golden aura as twilight falls. Its opulence is hidden within the pietra dura technique, where semi-precious stones like agate, jade, and lapis lazuli are cut into microscopic pieces to paint immortal flowers directly onto the marble. Under the hands of master craftsmen, thousands of manual inlays fit so perfectly that no trace of a seam remains, creating a surface that appears carved from a single, massive block. Right in front, the garden is divided into 4 perfect quadrants, an ambitious design intended to recreate the paradise garden model from Islamic dreams. Going far beyond the concept of architecture, the Taj Mahal is actually a sophisticated visual system, where light and proportions are manipulated to mesmerize anyone who sets foot there. Rising approximately 12,400 feet, Mount Fuji appears as a nearly perfectly symmetrical cone, distinctly separated from the surrounding landscape of Japan. From a distance, the mountain deceives the eye with a simple geometric structure and uniform slopes, creating the impression of a monument built with absolute precision. When observed from a closer distance, that smooth exterior gives way to layers of rock and stratified lava, evidence of a geological entity that is still silently transforming. Bands of clouds frequently shroud the summit, sometimes obscuring the view entirely and ensuring its form is never fully visible at any single moment. Recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, Fuji is not just a mountain, but a sacred space, where the shifting snowcap creates numerous different faces on the same structure over time. Contemplating Mount Fuji is never a completed experience, as every encounter reveals a different version of the mountain, shaped by light and the observer's perspective. Located atop Corcovado at nearly 2,300 feet, Christ the Redeemer is not only a religious symbol, but also a physical presence that occupies the surrounding space. Instead of remaining within enclosed sacred spaces, this form rises into the open sky, where a spiritual idea becomes a lasting part of the landscape. Completed in 1931 with a height of 98 feet, the structure is covered in shimmering soapstone, forming a solid mass that endures over time. With an arm span of 92 feet, creating a clear horizontal axis, the design allows the statue to remain easily recognizable even from a distance. The statue has become a national symbol, closely associated with the image of the country across cultural and media contexts. Beyond a stone structure, Christ the Redeemer stands as a sacred presence of protection and a connection to a sense of inner calm. Can a limestone mass shaped by millions of years of erosion become a global symbol beyond pure geography? Tianmen Mountain in Hunan, China, stands out with a massive natural arch cutting through ancient rock and forming a powerful skygate image. The arch rises about 400 feet high, equal to a 40-story building, formed by ancient karst collapse and now recognized as a rare geological phenomenon in Asia. A mountain road stretching over 6 miles with 99 sharp turns follows the steep slope, showing how engineering adapts to extreme terrain and turns access into part of the experience. A glass walkway fixed into vertical cliffs with strong steel anchors stands nearly 5,000 feet above sea level, combining modern technology with a raw and ancient landscape. Local residents shifted from farming to tourism services, proving that one natural landmark can reshape both the economy and social structure of an entire community. In the northeastern region of Ethiopia stands Erta Ale volcano, a shield volcano about 2,000 feet high with a continuously active lava lake that forms one of the rare living geological scenes on Earth. The lava lake can reach nearly 130 feet across, similar in length to an Olympic swimming pool, and its steady presence for decades has made this site important for scientific research. At an elevation of about 2,000 feet, you must walk for hours across rough black basalt ground with no tall trees nearby, facing cracked earth and a moving lake of fire ahead. In 2005 and 2017, Eruptions caused part of the crater to collapse and created new lava layers, proving that fresh magma continues to rise from deep below. Local herders still move their livestock across old, hardened lava fields, adapting daily life to a harsh environment where volcanic activity remains a normal part of survival. Erta Isle is one of only a few places worldwide with a permanent lava lake, clearly showing that tectonic separation in this region continues to reshape the surface year after year. What place on Earth makes a lake in the Faroe Islands appear as if it is floating above the ocean? That place is Survagsvatn, with a view that completely tricks human perception. When you stand in the right position, the flat lake surface seems hundreds of feet higher than the sea, making the entire landscape feel visually reversed. The lake is actually about 100 feet above sea level, far lower than it appears, roughly equal to a 10-story building in height. Water from the lake flows directly into the ocean over a cliff edge, creating a rare direct connection between fresh water and the sea. Surrounded by steep terrain and a perfectly flat surface, the entire scene looks like a separated layer of space where reality and perception no longer match. Masai Mara is a vast grassland in southwestern Kenya, where the land stretches into endless golden plains, reaching the horizon with almost no forests or cities breaking the view. This area covers about 580 square miles, creating a continuous open space where you can see for miles without any obstacles in front of you. Here, more than 2 million animals join a seasonal migration, forming dense moving lines that look like a living river flowing across the ground. Visitors can watch hunting scenes happen in the open, where every movement and strategy is clearly visible across the wide landscape. Scattered acacia trees stand alone on the grass, acting as visual markers that help you understand the scale and depth of the entire environment. Many visitors describe the feeling as standing inside a real documentary where every movement of life happens right in front of their eyes. Greenland is one of the strangest regions on Earth, where almost the entire space is covered by massive ice and an overwhelming sense of silence. Located between the North Atlantic Ocean and the Arctic Ocean, Greenland is the largest island in the world, but most of its land cannot support life because thick ice covers nearly the entire territory. When you step onto the ice surface, you are standing on ancient material built up over hundreds of thousands of years, creating the feeling of walking on a frozen ocean. Huge glaciers move slowly toward the ocean, constantly breaking apart into large ice blocks that can be as big as multi-story buildings. The ice here can reach up to 10,000 feet thick, completely covering the land underneath and turning Greenland into a vast natural ice system. The space here has almost no clear boundary between land, ice, and sky, creating the feeling of standing inside another world that exists alongside our own. Danxia Rainbow Mountains in China form a multicolored land system stretching dozens of miles, and this large scale gives the landscape strong visual recognition worldwide. Visitors move along controlled pathways instead of walking freely, and this method reduces direct impact on the fragile rock surface shaped by erosion. The rock layers formed about 24 million years ago, and this long process created distinct color bands from different mineral compositions. The terrain consists of continuous curved ridges with clear layering, and this structure allows direct observation of geological stratification across the surface. With diverse colors and visible structure, this landmark stands as a clear example of long-term landscape transformation shaped by natural geological processes.